You've spent all your money. You've tried to navigate the UTC shopping center. How many of you got lost in UTC this year?
In the parking garage.
The food court is out, Shake Shack is in. Can we get everybody going so we can be on time? Lord, I love to start on time, but I guess the bagels overrode that. Good morning.
Morning.
How is everyone?
Good. Great.
Had a good year, looking for a better year?
Yes.
None of you ended up in court.
No.
None of you are being sued that I'm aware of. It's a good year, right?
So you're happy to see us. That'd be okay. Or go right there.
So a couple of seconds on what we're going to do now that I have most of your attention. Can we get it quiet outside? I'm not that demanding. And we would like to outgrow the space. So again, good morning. Tom Tucker, your broker of record. For those of you that haven't had to call me, thank you. For those that have, I hope I've helped you. And again, we haven't been in court.
Thank you.
Today, I need to make a couple of quick announcements. My goal as your broker of record is to keep you out of court, answer your questions, and keep you on track, and save you a bunch of money if I can. One of the things that Amy Susan asked me to do was to research what's going on with errors and omissions. So I'm going to make a couple of quick announcements. Number one, there's going to be some very significant forms changes in January. Shanda did a webinar about the forms changes, which you might want to listen to. If not, I received an email from our escrow facilitator, and I'm going to have that actual email forwarded to you so you can see what changes are actually going to occur on the car forms. So what they're trying to do is add more pages, of course. I can never say that they're streamlining the car forms. The car forms keep changing as a direct result of all the lawsuits that happen. That's the truth. When I first started in real estate, we had 2 pages on the RPA. I used to do 1031 exchanges on major buildings on 2 pages. I built my house on 2 pages. Couldn't do that today. RPA now is, I don't know, 15, 20 pages or something. Statewide advisories, 14 pages. There's going to be more changes. And they come as a direct result of misunderstanding, miscommunication, and lawsuits, which attorneys love. So remember, in every transaction, there's always 2 sides to the dollar bill. So when you call me and I hear your story, I also want to understand the other side of the dollar bill, because only then can you render an opinion. And what I'm finding is that the miscommunication that occurs is because you have interpreted the dollar bill one way, and the other party, buyer or seller agent, typically, has interpreted the offer or the transaction on the other side of the dollar bill. So what I'm finding is a lot of communication is left to second guessing. And that's because, and I've said this every time I share time with you, it's because we're doing everything electronically. We're doing everything on text. We're doing everything on email. You people never see one another unless you come to this class. So all I'm saying is that it would be better if there were a lot more communication. My career was based on communication. I made money as a seminar speaker teaching communication skills. Amy Susan have made a fortune as agents, communication skills. So, errors and omissions. Let's talk about that for 5 seconds. Please write this down. I'm going to pass these out, and I'm going to, if I had the ability to say this is mandatory, which I don't, because you're all independent contractors, but I'm going to tell you, if I don't see you, I'm going to be mad, because we're holding a January 10th errors and omissions workshop. And we're actually getting Robert Sunderland, who's an attorney, who would be the most highly recommended guy that I could give to you in the event of a miscommunication or a lawsuit or a mediation or an arbitration. So we have put a lot of hours in, and on January 10th at the Board of Realtors down the road, we're going to do a workshop, a couple of hours. It's not mandatory, but you better be there. So I want you to sign up. There's only 40 people that can show up in that classroom, and I think 30 people are here. So I expect this sheet to be full, and I want to see you January 10th. Okay? So, January 10th is out of the way. That's announced. Take a flyer, sign up now, commit.
Lou, give me one too. I forgot to take one.
The other thing, Edgar and I were chatting this morning, and I've said this before at workshops, if you have an offer that does not make a failed offer, remember on the car form now there's actually a line that talks about receipt or presentation of offer. I really need for you to understand that you get that signed by the agent, buyer, whomever, by the appropriate person if your deal fails. That deal that didn't make, in its entirety, including emails, needs to go to Edgar. There's only one person, two people in this company, myself, and I won't mention the other one. Probably Amy Susan's TCs are doing that, but none of you are sending offers that don't make to Edgar. That's a big lawsuit waiting to happen, because what's going to occur, you're going to do a deal, it's not going to make. 4 months later, the buyer's going to get mad when he sees it closed at a certain price, and he's going to sue you. And I'm going to be called, and I'm going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. So we have to have complete paperwork. So you've got to learn to send it to Edgar if it doesn't make. Question?
So we can put it broken in too, or is that the same as sending it to Edgar?
I want to make sure it goes through Edgar so it gets uploaded. It's not enough work. It's not enough work on Edgar's part to have it, you bypass that. Just send it to Edgar, he'll take care of it.
Okay.
There's not that many.
Is the deal has not open escrow?
Didn't make, it didn't make.
Even that it didn't open escrow?
Didn't open escrow, didn't make. Didn't make. So,
You put an offer, but you didn't get accepted.
yeah,
So it's still sent to Edgar?
yeah, okay?
So all-
Good. Amy Susan asked me to speak today about requests for repairs as a subset, if I can get this to work, as a subset of the RPA.
Just click the remote on for the TV.
Okay, where? Okay, okay, got it. Do I have to use this?
No.
Okay, just over time it stops, okay. So I put a little thing together. Your success as a listing or selling agent has a direct impact as to how you state the options that are available to each side of the file. Two sides to a dollar bill. Also consider the preconceived notions of the co-op agent and how they will influence the client. You've got to consider the level of experience or lack of experience of the other side, because you're going to articulate something hopefully in a very professional manner, and it's hopefully going to be received in a very professional manner, but we all know that's not the case. Okay? So, how will they influence the client, and how was the agent you're dealing with, how were they trained? It's kind of like, this is who I am, this is how I work, this is how I get paid. Boom, boom, boom. Really good agents, team or non-team, have a very specific checklist of how they do things. Their scripts, their dialogues are all boom, 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 boom. As we enter into a new transaction, I look forward to this successfully closing. This is who I am. This is how I work. This is how we're going to get paid. This is how the deal's going to go. Okay? Strong agent. Okay? Face it, most agents can drive but don't know the car forms or the contracts they need to make a living. That's so true. Frankly, I like doing classes because it forces me to go back and literally be one page ahead of you. Really. Because I went back to the RPA and I started to really read it based on this little myopic topic we're talking about. And I said, wait a minute, I just learned something here. I didn't realize that was the case. And it's in the contract. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You guys have to know, and I repeat this again, you have got to know the forms. Got to know the forms. The forms are what you make your living with. The forms are what will keep you out of court or just put you smack dab in front of a small claims guy, mediation, or arbitration, okay? Can we get, now what? My computer this time. Okay, we got to get this changed. This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay. So, we're going to today review the CAR RPA paragraphs 11A and B, what to say to the client, what's the true definition of an as-is clause in paragraph B, 11, and we're going to review your RPA 12A, 12B, what to say to the buyers and sellers about investigations. In preparing your request for repairs, consider what the implications are to the file. Lender credit. Is our lender going to be here? Is our lender here?
Sean?
Sean's here? Okay. 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 The work to be completed, how it's going to be done, and we're going to be talking about the various paragraphs. Now, I've highlighted these on the overhead, so don't worry about not what is he talking about. You'll see that in just a moment. We're going to review your car RPA paragraph 15 and 16, what to say, and final request for repairs. I'll tell you, one of the biggest issues that comes up is you do a request for repair, the seller says, I'll fix it, and he fixes it in a workmanlike manner. You get a receipt but no warranty. So we're going to talk about that. I have an example, if we have time, where I had a deal in Escondido that I pulled up, and I was very specific about the warranties. And we ended up invoking the need for the warranty, as luck would have it. Okay. One of the things that Shanda or other TCs will have you absolutely include in your bag of tricks is the buyer inspection elections. Let's make absolutely certain that that becomes a printout or an addition to the actual RPA when you write it. Now, I'm the first to know that when you're talking to people, you're also going to electronically send them the RPA. You need to not only do the affiliated agreement, because we want the escrow, but you also need to do the buyer investigation. And you need to understand how many inspections are actually available. Why? Because you need to articulate to the listing agent, if you're representing the buyer, what you're going to be doing. Also, if you have a recorded document of what you've done on the file and all the things that are actually available, you may end up needing more time. You could. I mean, if somebody saw a list on this and said, boy, I want to do most of these, you may not be able to do it in the pre-printed 17 days. I don't know. But I'm just saying include it in your bag of tricks. Yes?
So, generally they start with a home inspection, and then quite often you go on to other things. So are we having to do a modification of terms on this if they elect to do 2 more later on during that?
No, because in the RPA you can elect to do any and all. It doesn't matter. You can do any and all. We're just documenting, and this is really a great way for you to talk to the buyer agent about those which are available, because they're going to say, let's do a home inspection. Now let's do a termite report. And then we need to get a swimming pool. And oh, by the way, he said hire an electrician, that sort of thing. So they're all here. All I'm saying is this will give you, A, more credibility in who you're working with as a buyer. And secondarily, it'll give you a real good punch list of what you should be doing and could be doing. Okay?
Tom, is it in the best interest to have that filled out at time of RPA but hold it from sending to the listing agent?
Yes, I wouldn't send this necessarily to the listing agent at the outset, but I would certainly say that we're going to be doing some and again, it depends on the
And
property.
we don't know sometimes.
I mean, it could be in Escondido and you need to go underground. You need to do something. It could be in La Mesa. It could be a non-track Carmel Valley or Carlsbad property. So, yeah, use your best judgment. Just want you to start including that form, okay? Okay.
Tom, sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
send on day 17, like when you're done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, this is done. I like to do this more up front. Okay. So let's look at 11 as it exists in your RPA. Let me read this to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. And again, I'm an East Coast agent transferring here, so new documents, I just want to be very clear. I thought I heard 2 different things. One, you said, hold on to it, don't, I even wrote it down, don't send it to the listing agent upon offer submission, and then you said, don't, she asked you, hold on to it, and you said, don't.
To the 17th day. No, don't. No,
Okay,
don't.
so when would you?
Use your best judgment. I don't know on every file. Unfortunately, in a case, unless it's a case study, I don't really know.
Okay.
But just make sure you use it and have it day 1. Okay? Because otherwise, what's going to happen, your TC is going to send it out 8 days later, 5 days later. And all of a sudden the buyer says, well, wait a minute, what's this?
Right.
Right.
Well, we're just covering our ass to make sure that you knew that you could have done all of these. No, make it part of your script and dialogue. Seriously. Okay, 11. Please understand on the RPA, unless otherwise agrees in writing, the property is being sold as is. What does that mean, as is? Exactly that. It's the way you saw it the day you either previewed it or wrote an offer. That's the condition, as is. Subject to investigation. In California, we don't advise the buyers to waive their right of investigation. We advise them that there are investigations, and pre-printed in the RPA is a 17-day due diligence period. It's pre-printed. Commercial real estate, maybe yes, maybe no on a contract, but in residential, you're buying it the way you see it, that's the way it's supposed to be delivered, and you have a right of inspection, okay? The buyer has the right to conduct investigations of the property as specified in paragraph 14, which is all the things you can do. Based on information discovered during these investigations, he has the option to cancel or to make a request for repairs. To me, this is very important that you understand when you talk to a buyer, you explain to them as is, subject to an inspection, and you are not waiving your rights to make a request for repair. You still have that right. But what does that say further? That's why also you want to include the BIE form. Okay, these are the investigations that we can do. Okay, the buyer's acceptance of the condition is a contingency. As specified within the time frame pre-printed 14 days. Buyer shall have the right at buyer's expense unless otherwise agreed to conduct investigations, conduct tests, surveys, and other studies. And it goes into the things that they can do. Now this line right here about termites is a new addition to the old RPA because Northern California politics got it changed. In Southern California, we used to say, here's an addendum, Section 1, clearance. Now, it's entirely up to the buyer. I wrote an offer and helped my daughter buy her first home in the Oakland and Richmond Bay area. And I got, which is the standard of practice up there, they do a home inspection, which was $1,050 for a home inspection.
Wow. Yep.
They got a termite report, which was $250. And I got all the disclosures, including the local area disclosures for Richmond, Oakland, Berkeley, with a counteroffer. I got a whole package. So here it is, buddy, make a decision, yes or no. I love that. I think it's great.
I had similar, I represented my son and his wife buying in Pleasanton, which isn't far from where we were. And when they sold their house and when they bought another house, all of the documents were given to the buyers at the time. They had the right to take them from the house at the time they were looking at the house. And so when they went to write an offer, they had the whole packet prior to even writing the offer. So they knew what the condition was.
I had the same thing given to me, a complete package. There's actually, I've forgotten the name of the firm, Susan, that actually, it becomes part of DocuSign.
Yeah.
And it just, it came to us and here it is. You know, sewer lateral mandatory inspections, blah, blah, blah. And I went, wow, this is really cool. This is really cool. Okay, so this talks about all the inspections that you can do. It says the seller will make the property available. And I've had people call me and say, well, the seller won't make the property available. Okay, it says right in the contract, you will make it available, Mr. Seller, for all investigations that I wish to undertake. Now, here's something that's, I have to clarify this a little later today. Watch what this says. Seller shall make the property available for all buyer investigations. Buyer shall, in paragraph 14, complete all investigations and either remove the contingency or cancel, and give the seller at no cost complete copies of all investigations, reports obtained by the buyer, which are an obligation shall survive the termination of this agreement. Whoa, so that brings up the question as a broker of record. Okay, so the seller gets all those reports. Does that now become part of the seller's disclosures? Does the listing agent, if it's you, have the obligation to pass the termite report and the home inspection and the electrical outcome to the next guy?
Yes.
But what if on the contract of the home inspection it says this is a copyrighted document and it shall not be distributed unless the home inspector gives his written permission? That's what I'm going to find out. Because here it's quite clear. It's quite clear. If I can get it to boot up again. It's quite clear that it survives and becomes part of. So, what we're doing as agents now is everything up front, full and complete disclosure, day one, take it or leave it, or do your investigations, and make a decision.
What if the selling agent or the listing agent says, don't send me that stuff?
I have to find out about that because sometimes they're going to say, "You're right. I don't want to know."
Yep,
I would advise against that as a listing agent. If you're a CPP agent and you're taking the listing, you need to have that because you can't defend yourself, guys, gals. You can't. There's no defense for not having a complete package. There's no defense that I can help you with if you don't provide everything in the file to either Edgar or through your TCs that ultimately filters to me. There's no way I can defend you if you don't include your emails and if you selectively pull out a couple and think they're not relevant to a file. An attorney's going to go, are there any documents missing? Yeah, 3. What are they? Okay, you're sued. Pay money. You're going to write a check for $5,000 day one. Day one under errors and omissions. And it's not coming out of our pocket. It's coming out of your pocket. But we're here to help you. Does that make sense? Okay. There are many ways that we can save you money on any claim that comes up, but you've got to do your part. You just can't miss a step. Okay? Let's see if we can find some more stuff to talk about. If I can get this.
There isn't enough.
If that's no.
Look at that. Paragraph 14.
Paragraph 14. Let's get into that. And I know we're going to need a lot of time for questions and answers.
Who doesn't love it?
Who doesn't love paragraph 14? Okay. The following time periods may be only extended, altered, or modified by mutual written agreement. So if you need to modify the time frame for all your investigations, you use what form? MOD. Modification of terms. Okay? Cancellations, contingencies, blah, blah. Good faith, got to use the CAR form, CR or CC. Okay. In this one that I had written on this property in Escondido, to try to get the deal, we did all investigations within 10 days. It's pre-printed to 17. I think 10's ample. I'm able to make phone calls and get people. I think it's plenty, and it does help get the deal. The one I got up in Richmond, I had time frames so tight because I've got them in my head. I had time frames so tight that when I presented the offer to the listing agent in Richmond, he said, "Oh my God." And I said, "Hey baby, I'm ready to go. I know exactly what I'm doing. Get out of the way. Let's make this thing happen."
He wasn't allowed to.
I had a little bit of confusion on the 10 days. So if that's just inspection, it doesn't mean the seller has to approve on request for repair, right?
No, you're confused because
Okay.
I'm going to do any and all selected investigations of the buyer's choice, BIE, within 10 days. At the end of 10 days, I'm going to cancel or I'm going to make a request for repairs or I'm going to ask for an extension. Okay? Those are the 3 options. Okay? The seller is, as you know, under no obligation to say yes, no, or maybe to any request for repair. Ladies and gentlemen, it goes to the two sides of a dollar bill. The seller may be willing to do the deal, and you're a really good buyer agent, but the agent in between stinks. And it's the way you articulate your reasonable request for repairs as to the level of success that you'll have. You and I both know lousy listing agents filter and don't allow the sellers to know truly what's going on. It is for that very reason that you want to get a receipt for reports, you want everything in writing, and you demand that the seller initial or sign. Edgar got paid one time, brand new licensee. He came to me, said, I'm presenting an offer in National City and the agents blah, blah, blah. And I said, demand that this new car form that it be signed. And the guy couldn't produce it. So the guy presented Edgar's offer and Edgar's deal got accepted and he got paid. So if you know the forms and how they're going to work for you, you can make a lot of money. Okay? Now, we can get this to go again. All right, I think that's all we need to do on this for now. Okay.
I assume it still says in there, smoke detector, CO2, and water heater bracing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We need to have the smoke detector and the CO2 up and running, functional before the lender shows up, otherwise the lender won't show up. I had that happen in Richmond and I told the agent, and it was an investor's property, and I said, I'm just telling you, the appraiser's coming up, and I'm just, typical Tom, I'm just saying. I know what I'm doing here. I'm just saying you might want to do this. And guess what? The guy showed up, and no CO2. And of course, he wanted to walk out, but the agent ran over to Home Depot 4 blocks away, so I'll be right back.
I had that happen.
Keep them in your trunk.
Keep them in your trunk, yeah. Move them around. Plug them in, move them around as you need to.
That's it.
Come out. No, I didn't say that.
I had an appraiser suggest that we move it from the
Yeah.
first floor to the second floor.
Yeah.
So he could take the picture, and he trusted me, just on meeting me,
Yeah.
that I would go get another one.
Yeah, it can happen. So yeah, do carry a bag. I always call
Carry it back up.
your office is your computer and the trunk of your car.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to 15 and 16 real quick. Final verification of the condition of the property. 5 days prior to the close, it's pre-printed. 5 days prior to the close, the buyer has the right to go back and walk through the property using a final verification or final condition, VP, and say yes, everything's complete. Okay? So that is critical, and that is the right of the buyer. And I've had some people say the guy won't let me back in, or I've heard all these things. So
Oh, quickly on VP.
Yeah.
I've noticed that sometimes I've heard people without VP being signed that they can close, but some companies are like, you have to sign it or this won't be closed. Like, what is it just different for every company?
it's an interesting thing. Some companies will say, well, this is mandated in our company. Well, then tell me the first day. Tell me the first day I'm in escrow with you, Mr. Sotheby's agent, Mr. Berkshire. Just tell me, okay? Well, our company policy is this. I've had TCs tell me that blah, 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 and I'm going, wait a minute, are you licensed? No. With all respect, you're a TC. Okay, got it. Why are you giving advice? Legal advice. You can't do that. I love Shanda. But there's been a couple times where I say, Shanda, you really can't run the file. The agents and CPP sometimes defer to the TCs, and the TCs take on an added responsibility. Quite frankly, they don't have the right to do that. Hate to tell you, but you don't have that right. You're not the agent. You're supposed to know, not let the TC tell you. You're supposed to know. You're supposed to drive the bus, not have the bus drive you.
So our company has to have it signed or no?
On the VP, we really recommend you do it. And I'll tell you why, because it'll cover your fanny.
Well, there's also a waiver line, too.
Yeah, there's a waiver form too. So if you don't want to do a final walkthrough, you can waive your rights on that. Think 2 sides of the dollar bill. Hey guys, my whole life as your broker, I sit there all day and go, what would the attorney on the other side say? What would the attorney on the other side say? I just got a call this morning, and there's a situation that I won't go into the details of it, but I said, you have to oversubscribe your level of service. This guy's trying to fire you. He can't do it. You have a buyer broker. He can't fire you. He can fire you, but he's going to pay you. So if he says, I'm going to fire you, I want you to oversubscribe and keep sending this guy information and properties and blah, blah, blah. Don't just stop and be a cheese weenie. I want you to be aggressive. That's how it works.
That's on tape.
It's a technical term.
Oh, yeah, it's a technical term.
Technical term.
That's actually paragraph 17A 31C. I feel so bad when you are cheese weenies. I just really do.
Never heard that.
All right. Let's talk about repairs on a serious note for just a moment. Okay, have a buyer, seller, we agree. There's a few things that need to be repaired. The seller hires Johnny the handyman. Johnny the handyman gives him a receipt for $375. Please ask for any warranties, because in the RPA, it doesn't say it has to be a licensed plumber. It doesn't say it has to be a licensed electrician. They put in there, cleverly so, things have to be done in a workmanlike manner. That's like saying your home better be military clean on the way out. What's the definition of military clean? Lick the toilets? I don't know. You know, you all have different standards. Your cars are either dirty or they're very clean. My car is really detailed. Yours might be really dirty. Who knows? I'm happy with mine and you're happy with yours. Yours is dirty, mine's clean. It's just the way we are. Okay? I don't know. So, please, 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 all definitions have to be clarified. What are you saying? All debris out of the house. It's pre-printed in there anyway, but all debris. So if you know that there's a lifelong amount of junk in the garage, specify that in your RPA. All debris, all personal property shall be removed 5 days prior to the close, or 6 days prior to the close, whatever you're going to put in there. Okay? Now, here, when you do your request for repair, I would recommend that you add the word warranty. Warranties, if any, shall be passed from seller to buyer. If they fix the refrigerator and it has a 90-day warranty, you want that warranty. Okay? And so I'm finding a lot of times we skip that. Hey, the guy fixed the thing, it doesn't work. We just closed escrow. What are we going to do? We can go back on the seller who now lives in Chicago, but we're not going to have any success. The other agent didn't like us in the first place. They're not going to return our call. So now it's up to you. So get a warranty up front. Okay? Know who it is. All right? So, Susan, do you want me to bring our lender in now and talk about one aspect or one component of it? Why don't you introduce our lender friend, and then I want to have him do a case study with me as we wind up. And then we'll do question and answers, okay?
So, many of you have met Cornerstone Mortgage. Good morning. Wow. We need a bigger training room. Tom comes and it's like busting out. Yeah. So anyway, welcome everybody. Hope you're ready. 1 week left, by the way, for those of you who celebrate Christmas. So if you haven't worked with Cornerstone, the team's amazing. I've worked with them many times, many years. It's sort of like a conveyor belt and it runs very smoothly, and if you can't get a loan somewhere else, these guys can probably do it. And they'll always give you an honest answer, which I really appreciate. If you can beat somebody or not beat somebody, if someone's shopping around. So further ado, I'll introduce Sean Cahan, and if you haven't met him, I think it's a great opportunity to shoot something his way and experience the great service that you guys provide. So, welcome, Sean.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, Sean, I want you to say a few words that you're going to say, but I want to ask you a direct case study question. And we can do that together.
Yeah.
Where's my hug? No,
Oh, yeah, right here.
just
I
kidding.
got one. I already got one.
A bro hug.
That's the high five to the house.
Okay, got it. Okay.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one hand.
I'm not sure that's allowed. Okay. Sean, you're on.
Actually, there's one question that I wanted to ask. We just recently had a HUD audit, and what they noticed on the RPA, one of the questions was on the 7A, which kind of turned into the request for repair. On the 7A, is it required to actually have the agent put on the buyer's side, yes, we do want to have a home inspection before the home inspection happens, right? Is it required to tell the seller on Section A? Because HUD's stance on that now, HUD is saying if the agent on 7A puts the home inspection now, they're requiring the home inspection to be reviewed by the underwriter.
Right.
You don't want to, you do
You don't want that. You don't want that.
underwriter to review a home inspection. Because like if they classify it as, green, yellow, and red, which we see a lot, now to a lender, right, the collateral, like we're placing a loan against a home, right? Well, in the banking world, we consider that to be what's called an instrument, right? It's just that we're using this as a collateral. Well, anything in yellow and red, if it damages our collateral that we want fixed. That's impossible.
Well, the specific case would be a termite, where you as an agent put the old way of doing it, Section 1 clearance. It becomes part of the contract, not part of the inspection. Do you understand the distinction?
But if you don't ask for it in the purchase agreement, then if they can say no, then?
They can say no.
Say no.
They can
Buyer
say,
can-
So
Well,
that's like
say
a
no
catch
anyway.
22 then, right? Because you want section 1 clearance.
the downside, because I want to bring you into this, the downside of putting the termite as part of the buyer's due diligence is it may take 3 to 5 days to get the appointment. It may take a couple days to get the results. And it may take 3 days of negotiation to get a yes, no, or maybe from the seller. Frankly, I don't care what goes on in your world, but to the extent that I can, every time I take a listing, get a termite inspection, there's no hidden agenda. The buyer's going to want to do a termite inspection. So why don't you just have the seller do it and give it as part of the due diligence? Here's why. If it comes out it has to be tenanted and it's $5,000, you know how much it is, so you try to keep your price up, so you're trying to get the listing, so you say, I'm going to factor in a counter offer, it's still going to be appraised, I'm going to make the buyer pay for it, and they won't even know they're doing it. Instead of selling it for $890, I want to sell it for $895. The seller's going to look at you and go, I love you. A, you cut the time down for the lender. B, you had the seller not have to pay for the termite repair. Makes sense? Comps. Let me give you an example. How many VA FHAs do you have in Carmel Valley expressed as a percent of sale? High or low? Low. Claremont, Santee, Lakeside, expressed as a percent, high or low? High. Okay, so now you know that you're going to have an issue of Section 2 that may lead to. So why not address it day one? Now, but one question that I have of you. So I take a listing, I tell our agents to go ahead and get a termite. We get the termite and we make it part of a counteroffer or something that's part of the contract. We're going to have to deal with it. Do you understand that? Well, you're going to have to deal with it anyway. If it's VA or FHA, you got to deal with it. So why not have your homework done up front? Why wait 12 days for a buyer to put it as part of his due diligence and then make a request for repair? It doesn't make any sense. So be practical as to how you approach it. Ready for a case study?
I am.
Here's the very specific question. Step to the side here, my friend. Okay, we have a deal right now that's in escrow at $895. Typical Carmel Valley, $895. We're going to put 25% down, and we're going to get a loan of $671,250. Okay? Now, we do our due diligence, and we find that the numbers between these two is what? What's 26? 26? 26. We find in this case study, we find $26,000 worth of stuff. Sean, do you want me to lower the price, or do you want me to have the seller credit the buyer. What do you want me to do? Seller doesn't want to make the repairs. He's going, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's do it this way. I'll either give you 26 grand or let's lower the price. What do you want?
Me personally, it's really hard to make up $26,000 in fees, and in the
I just use that as the example. I mean, it could be 13.
So, well, even like 13,000. Look, I always say that there's reoccurring closing costs and non-reoccurring closing costs. Like, you don't want to issue a credit for a non-reoccurring closing cost, right? Or sorry, reoccurring closing costs, title or taxes, insurance, and prepaid interest. Okay, so you want to get the hard number for the actual closing costs themselves. But then also, if you take a look at it, like if the buyer's okay by coming out of pocket for their closing costs anyway, and they don't need assistance because they're putting it down 25%, it's actually better to reduce the actual purchase price due to Prop 13 on the property tax, because that number won't change. So if you can reduce that amount for the actual, the buyer on the property taxes for the life of for maybe even the life of them, right? Because they get to Prop 6090, continue to transfer their property tax basis. So I would actually take the price.
So in this case, if you look at, and my mind thinks, I am dyslexic, so the way I lay numbers down, people look at it and go, what does that mean? Well, I know exactly what that means, but you don't. So I did this right before we started. So in Sean's illustration, we take the price down to $869. We were going to get a loan of $671. Now we're going to get a loan of $651. Right. The P&I is going to become, I'm rounding, $3,500 versus $36, so it's $106 differential. But look at this, the buyer's coming out of pocket $6,500 less. Now, in your negotiation, lower the price, $695. The buyers, you can tell the buyer, you're coming in with $6,500 less cash. Take that cash and put it back into the house. Do whatever you want to do for the 26. Because what's going to happen, they're going to say, well, you know, I don't really need to fix that deck right now. I'd like to fix the swimming pool. Boom, boom, boom. You go, okay, cool. You got $6,500. We're going to spend that. We're still the same, and your payments are less.
Or if they did want to keep this actual loan amount, then at that same time, you can actually just keep the same loan amount. Because like really the difference between 20 and 25% down today in interest rate on what's called an LLPA, loan level pricing adjustment, is almost zero. Mm-hmm. So they're not giving any pricing concessions between 20 and 25% down.
Yeah.
So you can keep that.
Yeah.
Put more money in their pocket.
I'm very numerically driven because of my investment and commercial background. So when I look at something, I say, well, how can I sell this? Can I sell this as a benefit? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call Sean and say, I'm thinking of doing this. Let me send this over to you. What do you think? And he'll say, well, you know, that's a good idea, but I can sell this easier to my underwriter if we do this. And you go, well, cool. Now you go back to the buyer. You've got a lender on your side that knows he can sell that. You go back to the buyer and just say, let's make this adjustment. I've talked to Sean. We can close this deal. The seller's going to accept it because it doesn't make any difference to him financially or whatever you're having to sell. There's your presentation.
What if we took some of that credit and helped the buyer buy down their rate?
Absolutely can do that.
You can. I also have a new software that will allow me to do a 4-way comparison.
Oh, wow.
And so it actually brings it down to the penny of all the interest and all the fees and everything that they'll be collecting that will be paid all the way down to from 1 year all the way to 15 years. So, I mean, it brings down literally down to the penny, and it says like this is your best option to go between these 4 different options, and it breaks it down. So
Awesome.
The thing to really do is to get from Sean, if you can. I call it a money factor chart. Do you guys still produce those?
Maybe we just name it the different.
Okay.
Call it something different.
I always do in my head. I know that at just before 5%. The cost per thousand is $5.29 per thousand. So when I'm playing with numbers, I just know that, and of course I've got an HP 12C built into my cell phone.
Of course.
So I can play with the numbers and do that and figure it out. But it's really simple. It's really simple. But if a buyer says to you, what will my payments be, and you can't find him, you can do it in a heartbeat because you know, and in this example, just under 5 is $5.29 per thousand. We're going to borrow $671, multiply, done. There you go. And I got a D in math.
So we put that on the bottom of our pre-approvals as well. So at the bottom of our pre-approvals, it tells them It tells you what the payment difference will be for every $10,000 so that they can quickly. So if you see a property with an HOA, right, and it's $60, well, hey, how much does that equate to loan amount, right, to keep the payment the exact same, to keep the pre-approval, because the pre-approval is essentially based upon that final figure, right?
Yeah. Now, I know we're talking about requests for repair and we're talking about all of that sort of thing, but I really urge you, especially if you're new in your career or wherever you are in your career, really know the forms, really know the ratios. It will make you a ton of money because it makes you look like you should be really knowledgeable.
And don't send the request for repair to us.
Yeah. Why not, Sean?
You will be actually surprised how many requests for repairs that we get. The credit is on there. Yes, I know. The pipe is broken. So if you want to give me the credit and fix the pipe, then I will be more than happy to accept your form.
Okay.
Okay? So
Done.
that's how we look at it. So if you guys say like lender credit on there, 2,000, but it's up here like broken pipe, we're gonna now we have the document. Now we're gonna put that the lender credit is on the CD, but we're also still gonna make sure that the pipe is fixed. Put it onto your guys' addendum.
Okay. Perfect.
That's just my
Any other quick
recommendation.
questions of Sean? If not, let's give him a hand and we'll move it because we're going to keep it on time. Sean, are you current for today? You're up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Any
good.
other quick questions of our lender? Perfect. Let's give him a hand.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a quick little summary thought. On the request for repair, as you know, you make a request for repair and the car form will default to a CR1. Are you familiar with that? You're all, I don't need to teach that. Okay. Okay, so on the CR1. So on the CR1, contingency removal number 1, you can check off those which apply, or you can do any and all, or you can do a variation on the theme, okay? It depends on what file, how you're working your file, how you wish that to be. You need to make that form known to the buyer as to what he's doing, because many buyers are saying, well, I feel like I'm giving up my negotiations or something like that. Then don't do any and all, or just, do the ones that are applicable if you need to do that, but just be prepared to do a whole bunch. When I was in commercial real estate, we removed contingencies one at a time, boom, boom, like 32 contingencies. And so now you guys just check it off and any and all and you're done. Nothing to it. So let's open it up for questions. Did we get enough information going back and forth? Okay.
Very good.
Let's open it up for questions.
So I get confused with the request for repairs when the seller sends back their response and then the buyer wants to send another request for repairs.
Okay.
Is it just a CR2, and do we have to rewrite the entire CR1 to make sure it's all included? Like, should you rewrite it all again so it's clean?
No. Then if it's someone with a high school education, yes. Okay, but if it's an intelligent person, no. It's an open negotiation until all parties agree.
Just like the counter.
Bilaterally. It's just like a counter offer. It's a running tally. It took me a while to get used to CR1, RR1, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Rena and I had to make changes in our head, but it's logical. It makes sense. So it's a running document until there's bilateral agreement. Okay?
So the RR1, the seller's response to that, and then if there's an RR2, that's all one.
It's all one document.
Perfect.
It's all one document. Any attorney I've ever dealt with says, show me any and all. Yes?
That brings up actually a really good point that that's been coming up more and more on the request for repair. So if the seller does choose to actually do one of the repairs and actually have it on the seller CD to pay the contractor, anything greater than $5,000, lenders are now going to want that invoice to show actually what repair was done.
Wow, good information. That's I'm glad you're here today.
Across the board.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
So be careful. Like if it was like a friend, not licensed, the seller did it, all that kind of stuff, don't put it on your guys' seller CD.
Okay. Okay.
One vendor, 5,000.
5,000
Not
for
to
one
one.
vendor,
One.
correct?
5,001 vendor. Okay.
That would be termite, because sometimes they could go high like that.
No, because if you're putting this termite on there, so like if you guys are going to pay out the termite and we see that, even if your RPA says that the termite is not included, but you guys obviously did include it on the seller CD, now we're going to require the report. Now, if the termite company only did 2A, 3B, and didn't do 5F, but a contractor did 5S, now we need the invoice from the contractor to state 5S on his invoice.
Okay.
So that we can tie it, because it's not considered a clearance just because they went out. We want to know everybody that actually did it. And this is coming from 57 different investors on Wall Street requiring the same thing.
Okay.
So again, remember something. You've learned that today. Now you have to sell that to a part-time listing agent on an $895,000 sale. So you really need the support of your lender, or you need to really understand what he just said. Otherwise, you're going to have a delay on your file. And believe me, there's going to be a seller that's not living in the property and a listing agent that's part-time, and you're out there scurrying around. You better get your lender on the phone to also maybe articulate that this is a requirement, and here's why. Because you don't want the listing agent to get mad at Sean. Sean's just doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's going to sell the loan. He's got to have certain parameters met. So it's a team thing. So that's why I've always advocated know what he's going through to help your consumer close a deal. If you know more about who he is, how he works, and how he's going to sell the loan, you'll have better success. Don't walk away, delegate, and say, oh, my lender will take care of it. Take accountability. Understand what has to be done, and you be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, to do both sides of a transaction, literally, and get paid once. Because that's the reality of what we do. Yes?
I have two questions.
Of course.
Okay, first one. Going back to the contract where it says, with regards to repairs, that the seller does not have to respond. You have a buyer client who is incredibly pedantic and logical. And what would you say to that very particular buyer client when he says, what do you mean they don't have to respond? Does that mean that I just will have to cancel the contract on whatever day if they just don't respond?
No.
Like, what would you say to that buyer?
They will respond, yes, I'll repair it. No, I won't. They have to respond one way or the other. You're making you're making a request for repair. You're making a request for repair. They need to answer it, yes, no, or maybe.
Shanda's class said that you don't have to anymore.
I thought I saw in the contract you even had it highlighted and you were over it that they don't have to respond.
They
So-
don't.
Respond positively. Or you mean fix? Oh, fix
It
it?
says it doesn't have to respond one way or the
The
other.
seller doesn't have to answer the
That's
request
the new
at
For
all.
repairs.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry if I
Yes.
misspoke, but
No,
that's what
no,
I was
I get
trying
you.
to get at.
I get
How would you sell that and how would you explain that and how would you comfort?
Well, first
a
and
buyer? Very pedantic, very particular.
first and
Buyer.
but it goes back to the original agreement. You need to explain to the buyer you're buying this as is in its current and present condition. You may not get a response to even the offer that I'm writing. There's no obligation for the seller to even respond. Does he need to acknowledge it or his agent acknowledge it? Yes. Does he need to respond? No. So that goes to your question. I'm just sharing with you. I'm sharing with you, Bob and Susan. You're going to make a request. It better be reasonable. But he has no obligation to repair. So now I understand your question.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
it is that way. Other question.
I'll come back to me.
Or was I
forgot.
confused and got my way out of that one really well? I don't really know. I think I knew. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Second question.
forgot the second question. I'll have to circle back.
Oh, okay. All right. Double back. Questions?
I have questions again on request for repairs. What we just talked, what Susan asked you, and could you talk about modification of repairs, modification of terms on the request for repairs? Because I yeah.
The MOD is for time.
No,
So-
no, MOD, no, but on the request for repairs, there's a,
response to the request
on the, on
The
the response,
RRRR.
or you have a modification of terms on there.
She went through the whole thing on
Yeah, remember when that happened to me?
Mm-hmm.
So stay away from that. I'm using the wrong terminology because I haven't used it since. It's modification of terms.
Kim, help me.
Well,
I think it's fine.
I talked to Amy and we're just reinstating everything, because if you don't write down the new terms, the old term doesn't apply.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Let me show you.
Is it to that level now?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
So you have to rewrite the whole thing?
You do.
It should be, it's always been open.
If you need to modify something,
So-
you have to rewrite it.
So the response
Yeah.
below the, is this the request for repair? Below it?
Response for the request for repairs.
Exactly, so it says buyer accepts seller's response with the following modifications. So, is that what you're
Yes.
referring to?
So in this case,
It's Rena's.
okay. So this is seller response, okay.
So if they modify it and they say,
Something new.
I want $500 and I want the light to be fixed.
Another thing you could do, boy, this one's heavy. Another thing you could do is to say all prior shall prevail and are carried forth except. If you don't want to rewrite the whole thing, because sometimes you write, geez, what did I even say on the hook?
Shall prevail.
should prevail.
Oh, yeah, all,
I've been
All
using the
prior
word
requests
apply.
prevail except.
except,
That's perfect.
which shall be $500 or whatever.
Perfect.
So any attorney.
That's good.
Yeah, the English has to be such that if a layperson reads it, they understand it. Because an attorney will tear it apart anyway, so, okay. Any other questions? Have we addressed? Yes, did you think of the second one? All right, okay.
All right. Oh, so when you were very early on in your presentation, you were explaining, really research the experience of the other agent. Know basically who you're talking to so that you can help sell the deal.
Yep.
And help explain things in a way that they can understand so that you can help your client. Other than the backdoor of HomeSnap into a snapshot of Brokermetrics, what as agents do we have access to, in your knowledge, to understand the experience and find out, explore the experience of the other agent?
Well, here's one thing that just blew me away. When I wrote the offer in here's a lead into your answer. When I wrote the offer on Richmond for my daughter, the guy looked me up in DRE.
Wow.
And but what he said was, "Oh my God, do you realize your license is 0045069?" And I said, "Yeah, I've memorized it too. I'm not stupid." And he goes, "Do you know what 00 means?" And I said, "No." He said, "You're long in the tooth." Because I've been licensed, I hate to tell you, 46 years. All of my adult life. I don't tell you how old I am. I just say I've been, ever since San Diego State, I've been in residential or commercial real estate. So that's one way to look it up.
Yeah.
Look up their...
I'm asking because I'm a transfer agent, so I have a brand new license. There's no mention of my prior license, so I look like I'm a brand new person. I have all my HomeSnap Brokermetrics, which does not transfer unless I'm still a member of the other MLS, which I'm not. And as far as looking it up on Facebook or on Zillow, if you're on a team, a lot of teams don't allow that sale to register underneath that member that's under that team. So in my specific case, I look like I've never sold a single house.
Or you can have a bio that you
One of the-
you gotta
yeah.
claim all of your sales, because I'm from DC too.
Some of them show on Zillow,
all of them, you have
but
to
nothing
claim
on
them.
HomeSnap.
You have to
No, it won't
it.
claim on HomeSnap.
What-
But go into Zillow and claim all of your sales.
Yes.
Not to
buy-ins and
derail
sales.
everything.
But another way to do it is to have a bio. Is to have a bio.
Right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the simplest way to do it. Yes.
And so my intuitive way, April, my intuitive way of doing it is when I talk to someone on the phone. Are
Yeah.
they making sense or not? How do they write the offer?
Yeah,
Say
making
it.
sense
Are
or
they?
not.
You're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate me for this one. Are they asking me too many questions where they're gonna be difficult in escrow? So you know what you're doing, and so you just act like you know what you're doing, and listen to them. How did they write the offer? How did they present the offer? You can read a lot into it. Sometimes I'm wrong, but just have a conversation. I can't tell you how many people send offers over that never call me back.
Right.
I'm like,
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone have a bio attached to it.
Right.
anything, like I have 3 offers. I want to talk to you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Talk to the agents. Yeah. And then, chances are you're gonna know more than them, and you just do your
And then you
job.
can make
Yeah.
it
Their job.
You know,
Do everyone's
Don't
job
worry
and make
about
sure
it.
it's right.
I'm a little, okay. I'm a little old school in one regard. I just did a presentation for a commercial building in Chula Vista, and the lady said, "Well, you don't seem to have blah, 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 blah." And I said, "Melissa, we've been here for an hour and a half. Do you think you like me? Do you think you might trust me? Do you think you might list your office building with me? Because remember, it works 2 ways. I may not like you. I may not want to work for you."
Mike Ferry. Yeah.
And so, how are we doing? Am I credible to you? Yes or no? And she said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, great. Next step is let's look at the contract." You know, and so I am old school in that regard. I'm like Amy Susan, I'm on the phone a lot, and I do learn a lot by, and I got to tell you, as broker of record for 6 years for the company, I've learned to listen, whereas before I was pontificus, if that's the proper English word, because I really do believe I know so much because this is all I've been doing, but it doesn't matter. What matters most is that the client gets what they want. When I get a call from another broker manager and they come after me like I'm Sotheby's, we're going to sue you, I just say, you know what, go ahead.
Bring it.
I'm not attached to the outcome of the income. And just understand, I'm here as a facilitator. So if there's a willing buyer and a willing seller, can we just put everything back in the briefcase and chat? And that's why we've only had 2 mediations in 6 years at this company.
Who were they? I'm kidding.
Doesn't matter. So, all right. We're going to kind of sum it up. Remember, I want all of you here down the street, January 10th. Sean's going to leave some business cards. Give him a call. Give him a shot. And Susan, anything else you want to add? If not, I'll wrap it up for an hour that we spent together. Good work. Happy holidays to everyone. Thank you so much. Welcome, April. Thank you.